ICMA is celebrating 100 years of international by recognizing the vital role that global knowledge exchange plays in shaping the careers of local government professionals. There are many ways for ICMA members to gain professional global experience, one of which is by applying for one of ICMA's Global Scholarship Awards. Today's guests have done just that, embarking on their own professional global journeys as a result. Joining us for today's Global Spotlight are two recipients of ICMA's John Garvey Scholarship Award, Daniela Rivas, ICMA Credentialed Manager and City Manager of Newton, Kansas, USA, and Ted Richardson, Strategic Initiatives Coordinator in the Office of Strategy for Tacoma, Washington, USA. Thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
You both recently participated in a global exchange with support from ICMA's John Garvey Scholarship Award, which provides funding for young ICMA members to participate in global knowledge exchange through attendance at a local government management event in a country other than their home country. Can each of you tell us a bit about this experience?
Sure, I can start. So it was in Manchester, England, or the United Kingdom, because we met people from Scotland, England, Northern Ireland, and Wales. It was a 3-day conference. It felt quite similar to the ICMA conference. The themes, equity, workforce pressures, budget constraints, they were really similar. International trend that all of our governments are struggling with. In the end, I could really tell that we were really more connected than we were separated.
One of my favorite parts of the conference was a tour. We got to tour the town of Stockport, and we did sort of this walking tour where we got to see a redevelopment area and experience, through someone telling us the story of how this happened over a period of time, it was a wow factor to see the hard work that this town put in the long game of economic development in a town completely different from where I come from, but still hearing the same themes and the same issues and opportunities that I experience here in the States was sort of a confirmation that, maybe what we're doing here is not far off, The experience also reinvigorated and sort of reinforced my choice personally as a professional to stay in public administration. With the pandemic, I know that a lot of professionals muddled through some of the opportunities that were presented during that time. And so seeing these individuals at work and having these conversations just reinforced, hey, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing.
That's great. It sounds like you both learned that the world is a lot smaller than we think, and you'll be able to take a lot of these lessons learned from your experience into your communities. And along that line, what lessons from this UK exchange do you plan to take back with you to your respective communities?
Something that I really liked here in the Midwest where I'm from, there are things that we don't necessarily talk about that we're starting to open doors. And I appreciated the courageous conversations that were had at the conference, in circles, at round tables, at lunches. And I think it's a trend that the United States is going towards as well. But it gave me the confidence to continue on my path of normalizing these tough conversations. It reminded me that setting aside to do these things, have these interactions, really helps your craft as a professional manager, because the networking opportunities just open this door. And sometimes we go into the office and we do the things and we go to the meetings and we do the work and we kind of get in ruts, but this really takes us out of that and makes us make time to build these relationships so that we can leverage them to become better managers.
I work a lot on affordable housing, and we're struggling with housing supply. Our housing projections are that we need to build 58,000 new housing units by the year 2050. Stockport's housing projections were 18,000 in the next 10 or 20 years, but they're really driven towards those housing targets. And they're taking a different approach than us, but it's really useful for us to look at what approach they're taking to meet those housing targets. And even though it's different than ours, it's really useful for me to see that approach. I attended a session on how Scotland is approaching police-community relations. This is another topic I work on because we've had some issues between our police and our community. How is Scotland working on police-community relations, and what can we learn from them? AI was another example. A lot of the local authorities across the UK are generating a lot of data through healthcare devices to do predictive analysis using AI systems. I don't know if we'll be able to adapt from that or adopt any of those learnings, but just knowing that they're doing that or trying to do that might mean that there are learnings that we can have down the road when we're interested in that or ready to even begin thinking about that. And so even though they're not Washington State, they're not the West Coast of the United States, they're not the United States, they're the UK, there's still many similar issues. And I think there's a lot more that we can learn from them than we initially think there is.
It sounds like the knowledge sharing was absolutely endless, and the topics you covered can definitely be brought back to both of your communities. And you both have definitely touched on this in your previous answers, but let's dive into it a little more. Why are global exchanges and knowledge sharing, like what you've experienced, so valuable to anyone in local government?
It's personally and professionally comforting to know that we're in this together and that we're confronting the same major issues, whether it's income disparities or climate concerns.
I thought of it in a very, I think, selfish way, in a selfish manner, which is how does a global exchange and the knowledge sharing bring value to the manager, which I would say personally, I think the soft skills that I've learned or grow while I was there, I think it really tees up your soft skills by putting you in a place that may be uncomfortable, that you're not used to. You're collaborating. If you're not a collaborator, you have to be flexible. I know internally, my director of human resources always says, hey, cultural dexterity, if you can put yourself out there, you will learn whether you want to or not. And just being comfortable with the unknown. And so those things are things that, although sometimes we do face internally in the organization, we can get stuck in these ruts and get stuck in this box. And having that global exchange opens up just a whole different perspective and helps us appreciate that, we are human beings and we're people and we can learn from each other. The second is knowledge sharing. Our organization really is pushing towards this shift of, we're in the age of information, but it's becoming this age of intelligence, which we talked about AI. And we are a smaller organization. AI is not something we talk about every day. But with this shift, we know how important it is to exchange information as much as we can, because it's the catalyst for innovating, programming, services, whatever it is that we're doing. And so with the knowledge exchange and the teeing up the soft skills, I think both of those are motivation to collaborate and consider these broader experiences.
Extremely valuable insights from both of you. And going along the lines of how we can help our fellow local government professionals get involved in things like this, what advice can you give to other local government professionals who may be interested in taking part in a global exchange?
I would say do it. You won't regret it. ICMA has, and I didn't realize this, ICMA, even though I am credentialed, and ICMA has been an enormous resource for me over the last 17 years. This experience really opened up this door to another world of ICMA that I wasn't aware about. What other professional organization can say that not only are we fostering and sustaining experiences like this, but we're also sending managers over there and having them spend time with each other. So I would say stay connected with all the opportunities that ICMA offers, because if anything, beyond the learning that I had, I created some connections, and those connections ended already with emails and LinkedIn conversations and things that I'm very proud to say that I was able to experience. So just do it.
I think in my written answers to these questions. I wrote "do it" and then 3 or 4 exclamation points. It was a moment of real self-reflection for me. Being in a professional setting in a different country was probably the best place I've ever found to really sit back and think about my own career and the importance it has. I don't know if that was what ICMA intended, but that might have been what I got more than anything else out of this experience.
Absolutely. Just do it. That is definitely the message we want to get out there as much as possible, because that's oftentimes the hardest step, and it's definitely out of the comfort zone. But once managers and local government professionals like yourselves get involved, they find that it's just an extremely rich experience, and I'm glad you both experienced that. What are your hopes for ICMA's next 100 years of global work?
ICMA is doing an incredible job at sustaining this international perspective to city management or chief executive management. So I would hope that they would continue to sustain that work and even grow it. The world is changing and the world is becoming smaller. So I think that naturally it'll expand. And through that, the advocating for the communities and the city manager will continue. Not only will it continue, it will be strengthened. So I think the common denominator is that we all want to raise the bar for local government. And I'm excited to see that these experiences continue and grow for the next city managers,
Yeah, I would say 2 things. The first is those learning opportunities we spoke to earlier, that whether it's housing or community police relations or AI and healthcare, there are those opportunities, but it's not easy to create those exchanges, and it's not easy to find the overlaps because there are those legal and bureaucratic differences. So finding the similarities and opportunities for learning is still a hurdle to overcome. And I think ICMA is the best positioned organization to do that. And then the second thing I would add, slightly darkly, is that the world is becoming a more chaotic place. And then I do think that local government can become, or can be, like a beacon of light within that chaos. And that the more the local governments from across the world are connected, and the stronger we can work together and be connected, the stronger that democracies across the world will be.
All very strong hopes for the future, and I definitely echo those from both of you. And Daniela, Ted, I want to thank you both so much for taking the time to speak with us today. It has truly been a privilege to hear about your experience, and we're really looking forward to what's next for both of you as you take these valuable lessons back to your communities. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Yeah, no,
Thank you for having us.
We want to give a special thanks to ICMA's longest standing global strategic ally, Solace, for welcoming Daniela and Ted to their conference in the UK and giving them such a unique opportunity to learn and share knowledge. We also want to thank the London Borough of Barking and Dagenham, as well as Stockport Council for hosting Daniela and Ted for study tours of their communities. Want to participate in a global knowledge exchange opportunity like this? Qualifying ICMA members can apply for the Trent-Leon Fellowship or John Garvey Scholarship, both administered by ICMA's Global Engagement Committee. Learn more about these opportunities and how to apply at the links provided in the description below. And to view more global spotlights, be sure to subscribe to our channel.